Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Timeshare Talks. My name is John Raymond, and I'm a timeshare reselling broker. I've been in the business for almost 20 years, and along with me tonight is Wayne Robinson, who is the author of this great book called Everything About Timeshare. And anybody that's interested in timeshares, whether you're an owner or looking to buy or looking to sell, really should buy his book. And you'll see that book in the link posted right below, and a lot of other information about tonight's show. With us also is Irene Parker, a good friend and a person that's helped a lot of people sell their timeshares. We have a guest tonight with us, Irene Parker, and I'm going to ask, Irene Roberts, excuse me, and I'm going to ask Irene Parker to please introduce her.
Yes, Irene has been fading in and out with us tonight in our pre-check. She's got some internet problems, but I know her situation so well. And it looks like she's starting to come back with us again. Hi, Irene. And so tonight's topic is about probably the most important topic we could discuss, and that is the public offering statement, which Irene Roberts has really delved into after her experience. So, Irene, before we lose you again, can you just give us a little bit of information about what happened to you in Virginia and in North Carolina? And if you fade out, I'll just jump in and take over.
Okay, well, in Virginia, which was our first purchase in March of 2018, we were given the public offering statement. And the budget in the back of the public offering statement included a 2017 budget. The statute states that you have to give buyers the current budget. In 2017, the deficit was $8 million. In 2018, the deficit rose to $9.5 million, which is about a 20% increase. Well, that would have immediately raised some red flags in our situation. The other issue was that the public offering statement stated that there were no pending lawsuits. Well, we later found out that there were, and this liability would also influence our decision to purchase the timeshare. And that's basically what happened in Virginia. As part of the Virginia purchase, we were told we had to attend a mandatory orientation. So we scheduled that in North Carolina in April. And what happened there was we were never given a public offering statement. Plus, the agent told us that we could purchase more, we could travel and get 100% reimbursement of all our travel expenses. And she also stated that she could resell our timeshare. And I asked her what it was worth, and she said between $4 and $9 a point. So the inference was that this was an investment. Well, when I found out we never received a public offering statement, I started to do some research into the North Carolina statute. The statute required that the public offering statement be given to a purchaser prior to the signing of the contract. And of course, we never got one. We did some.
So the language in the North Carolina public offering statement, there was required language that was supposed to say the public offering statement must be given to every purchaser prior to the purchase. and that language was not on there. So that was a violation of the state statute, but the only thing the North Carolina Attorney General did was censor them, reprimand, and nothing was done to help Irene Roberts. And John, can you present that cover page of the Florida public offering statement?
Sure, here it is right here.
Okay, so this public offering statement is a Florida public offering statement from 2018, and there's only 4 sentences on the cover. And the reason I have this paper covering it is the timeshare member that gave this to me had written 30 cents per point because he had been promised that he could pay maintenance fees at 30 cents per point when that wasn't true. And he went back the next day and he recorded to confirm this. And because he recorded, he was allowed to have his contract canceled. But of these 4 sentences, the 4th sentence reads, "The prospective purchaser should not rely upon oral representations as being correct and should refer to this document and accompanying exhibits for correct representations." So right away you're asking, well, why am I even here if I cannot believe a word that this sales agent tells me? And the other problem is that one former timeshare sales agent told me that the quality assurance agent used to present this public offering statement. A lot of times the closing session is recorded, but the sales session is not recorded where misrepresentations were made. And there have been many, many reports of people being coached what to say or not say on this recorded closing. What's really made it worse, especially for, I talked to someone 83 yesterday that they've never experienced DocuSign, where it's a tablet and they store your initials and you tap your initials. Well, in the case of Irene Roberts, one of those taps was an acknowledgement that she had received the public offering statement when she had not. And there were 2 boxes that were acknowledging whether you wanted it received by hard copy or by CD, and neither one of those boxes were checked. But that didn't help her in that case. And so, but what the former timeshare sales agent told us is that after the closing started to be recorded, instead of the closing agent presenting this document, the sales agent presents it. And it's the first thing I ask someone is, did you receive a public offering statement? And they say, what's that? And then they go dig through their closet and they find it. And for instance, in Hawaii, in red, it says, read this carefully before signing. And Wayne can comment on this because typically it's stuffed into a bag of documents and said, enjoy your vacation. You can review these when you get home. So Wayne, can you add a little bit about this? I don't think they even have public offering statements in Mexico, but are you familiar with the document?
Yes, I am. The first goal of the salesperson is to make a sale. That's the #1 goal for the resort. The law requires in America that prospects are presented with a public offering statement. And that has everything about the resort, how it was financed, incorporation, things like that. Maintenance fees, all the rules and regulations according to law. As a salesperson, I do not want my guest or new owner looking at that, because if they do look at that, everything that the salesperson had said is going to be contradicted pretty much in the public offering statement. It's just like anything else in the contract. It's not going to be there. So the idea of the salesperson is the goal is to present it very quickly and say something like, well, When you got nothing else to do, take a look at that. Just tells you about us. Boom. That's it. Next. And that's it. That's the end of it. You don't want anybody looking through it. And I think she mentioned that the public offering statement should be presented before the sale. No, it's not going to be presented before the sale, because the sale is done once you sign the purchasing agreement and you give them the credit card, and a credit card goes through. That's the sale. The public offering statement is going to always come after the sale with the documents, with the VLO or the contracts person, or like you said, the salesperson. But it's going to be after you sign it. It's not going to be before. And that's the goal of the resort, is to get the credit card, get the money, and deal with the rest of it later. In Mexico, there is no public offering statement because there really aren't any laws in terms of protecting the consumer for timeshares, because in Mexico, they're not timeshares. They're vacation club. It's just a membership. You don't own anything. In fact, you shouldn't even have to be paying a maintenance fee because you don't own the property. And in many resorts, some of them, many of them, in fact, they only have 1 or 2 rooms. That's right. The whole resort is not timeshare. It could be a couple of rooms, and they're paying millions of dollars in maintenance fees for 2 rooms. So in Mexico, the Caribbean islands, they're not really legal contracts. They're not signed by anybody that represents the company or the resort. So again, the public offering statements are in the United States to protect the consumers, but they are whisked away. And in Mexico, Caribbean islands, they don't even have them.
Well, and can you imagine if you were given this document before the sales presentation? If the developer really wanted you to know about the oral representation clause, why not be that a disclosure before you even take a sales presentation?
They don't want you to look at they don't want you to look at it. Yeah, of course, because the whole thing's about it's getting the credit card. That's the number one thing. Get the credit card. Everything else we'll deal with later. We got ways to overcome every single objection or concern.
And Irene, while you're still with us, the other problem that I hear about over and over is not being allowed access to the booking site until after the rescission period. So there was really no way for you to confirm what you were told about the ability to pay 100% with maintenance, 100% with points for all your travel expenses. Was that in the contract? It probably was. I think it is, but it's not until you attempt to use something that you really understand and see that what you were told wasn't true.
It wasn't. I don't think it was in our contract. At least not in like the 7-page contract we got. That was just something that she had told us. I called her a couple of days later and asked, "Is this really what you're selling to us?" And she said, "Yes, it is." So she confirmed it in a phone call, probably a day or two afterwards.
Well, I think, and one of the problems is that one of the your CDs did not work. So one of those CDs was probably a benefits a document that listed the benefits that would have indicated that how much that it's only 7 cents or 10 cents a point for airfare. In no way would your airfare be included using points. So this is again.
We had nothing to indicate that it wasn't true. Like I said, and we had I asked them to send me a copy of all the documents that we were to get when we signed our contract. And there were a lot of documents that were still missing at that point. Of course, this was, way past the quote rescission period because we didn't get a public offering statement I still say that our rescission period hasn't expired yet.
So in other words, you're signing a contract, you don't even get a copy of it as soon as you sign it?
We got a copy of the contract, but there were a bunch of documents that were not on the CD that we had signed and were not given at the time we signed our contract.
Okay, so yeah, I mean,
So-
that's a typical scam, obviously. If I'm going to advise
Right.
people, if you don't have access, if you pay for something, especially when you're putting $3,000, $4,000, $10,000 down, you should have access to the site before the end of the rescission period and put that in writing. Otherwise, do not purchase. Because
Well, and
it's
then-
like going to buy a car.
Right.
Imagine going to buy an expensive car. Oh, you don't have access to the car for another 6 weeks. That's crazy.
Wayne, I have a
Right,
question.
and that's exactly.
Wayne, my
Right.
question is as a salesperson, do you think anybody even knows what a public offering statement is or oral representation clause is? And I'm asking that only because I became aware of it in talking with all of you. I've been to presentations before, and never were those two things on my mind when I was listening to the sales pitch. What was on my mind was I just had 2 nice glasses of wine and I felt really fine. And the idea of buying a timeshare didn't really appeal to me, but I got $200 in American Express cards and I just wanted to sit through the whole thing. But I was held for 8 hours. And during that time, of course, they were trying to do everything that you said. Do you think people really know about an oral representation clause and this statement we're talking about?
And no, as a developer or as a salesperson, you don't want them to know anything about the clause. It's like slipping somebody a Mickey. You're having a nice conversation, and Irene, they were very nice to you. They're very friendly. You trusted them, everything that they said. You feel that a discovery at the beginning tells you about your vacation, how much you spend. They get to know you. They know all your hot buttons, and they pull those emotional strings during the presentation, especially when they're presenting the model. You can stay in a place like this for a whole lot. Can you imagine you and your family staying in a place like this? So what you need to do, what they do is at the end, once they ask you, can you give me a yes or a no? That's breaking the back. Tell me yes, you want it, or no, you don't want it. If they say no, then we're going to handle the objections. If they say yes, they get a deal, purchase agreement, get the credit card, and they slip the Mickey, which is the public offering statement, while they're talking to you. Yes, I gave you the public offering statement, but I don't want you to read it. Okay, so I'm going to slip it in there, and you'll never know anything about it, nothing. And that's a perfect sale.
Right, and we said we had 2 missions. The first was to educate people about the secondary market, which is so important. And the second is to improve communications between the member and the developer. But the third is really consumer awareness and consumer education. And it's not really a fair playing field when you have very sophisticated sales agents, and especially there's so many seniors that have reached out to report unfair and deceptive sales practices. So consumer education and consumer awareness is really paramount, and that's kind of what we're about. So I think we covered most of what we wanted to cover tonight. I'm glad, Irene, you stayed with us as much as you did. We were having some problems in the pre-show, but thank you so much for being here. And Irene has published a couple articles about the public offering statement. And I'll get that link for the article that she published before, and then we'll be releasing an article tomorrow with the link to this YouTube. So thank you.
And Irene
Thank you.
Parker,
Yep.
would you let us know who's coming up in this next week? I have a schedule right here, but I'm not sure it's up to date.
Right. No, Mike Kennedy and James Burbridge are the founders of Koala, which is a rental platform that is quite exciting in that they verify the listings and they only charge a small amount on the back end of the rental. And we live in Florida, and I actually was able to have dinner with the both of them about 2 years ago when this was a real new venture. So it's been really exciting to see them actually launch, and I'm seeing their name a lot, and it's a very exciting platform. So they'll be joining us next week.
Well, great. I appreciate all of you guys for joining us tonight, and everybody that's watching this. I encourage you to look at the information that we'll have down below in the description. It'll give you all of the information about where to get Wayne's book, and it'll give you a lot of information about Irene Roberts and the TARTA organization. So with that, I think we're signing off.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Okay.